.NET framework? Well, quite a basic question to begin the interview with. But it is very important to be prepared to answer such basic questions also. Otherwise, you'll start falling short of words. So, to answer this question, you can say, .NET framework is a software development platform for building applications on Microsoft Windows. It contains inbuilt functionalities in the form of class, library, and APIs that are used to develop applications for web, Windows, and phone. It supports various programming languages like C#, VB.NET, COBOL, Perl, etc. So, the developer can choose the language to develop the software. It provides various services to the application like memory management, version compatibility, security, type safety, language interoperability, etc. Moving on to question number 2. What are the two major components of .NET framework? To answer this question, you can say, the two major components of .NET framework are Common Language Runtime and .NET Framework Class Library. Talking about CLR, that is Common Language Runtime, it manages the execution of .NET programs. It works as a layer between operating systems and the applications written in .NET language. It makes the development process easier by providing services like memory management, thread execution, type safety, exception handling, security, etc. Now, talking about FCL, that is .NET Framework Class Library. It includes collection of classes, namespaces, interfaces, and value types that are used for .NET applications to access common functionality. Question number 3. What is .NET Assembly? Now, an assembly is the smallest unit of deployment in a Microsoft .NET Framework application. It can be implemented as .exe or .dll files. It provides all the required execution information to Common Language Runtime. The .NET Framework can maintain multiple versions of the application in the system through assembly. Now, after this brief introduction of .NET Assembly, you can also go on to talk about its various components. And you can say something like, an assembly is made up of 4 different types of components. The first one is Assembly Manifest. It contains information about the version of the assembly. The second one is Type Metadata, which contains binary information of the program. And the third one is MSIL source code. MSIL here stands for Microsoft Intermediate Language. And MSIL source code is a CPU independent set of instructions that can be efficiently converted to the native code. And lastly, you have resources, that is all other related files like icons, images, etc. are contained here. So you see, we did not answer this type of a question in just 2 lines with some basic introduction. Rather, we went on to talk about its components also. So for this type of questions, whatever additional details you provide actually give you the brownie points. Now, this question number 3 may even extend to question number 4, which can be something like, what are the different types of assemblies? To answer this question, you can say, following are the 2 types of assemblies. The first one is private assembly and the second one is shared assembly. Private assembly is used by a single application. It is kept in a local folder in which the client application has been installed. While if you talk about public or shared assembly, it is allowed to be shared by multiple applications. A shared assembly must reside in Global Assembly Cache, that is GAC, with a strong name assigned to it. Now, as we just talked about GAC, your next question could be, what is GAC? To answer this question, you can say, GAC stands for Global Assembly Cache. It is an area of memory that is reserved to store assemblies of all .NET applications that are running on a machine. It stores those assemblies which will be shared by many applications. Now, since it is assemblies under discussion, what is a satellite assembly? To answer this question, you can say, satellite assemblies provide an application the multilingual support. They include localized resources for an application. Using satellite assemblies, you can include resources for different languages in different assemblies. and the correct assembly is loaded into the memory only if the user selects to view the application in that particular language. Moving on to question number 7. What is the difference between dataset and data reader? Now, dataset is a disconnected architecture. We don't require active database connection while working with dataset. But if you talk about data reader, it is a connection-oriented service. The data is available as long as the connection with the database exists. Then, dataset is an in-memory representation of a collection of database objects. It is like a small database because it stores the schema and data in the application memory area. While data reader provides forward-only and read-only access to the data from data sources. It is like a forward-only record set. Also, dataset can be serialized and represented in XML, so it can easily pass around to other views. While if you talk about data reader, it can't be serialized. And lastly, dataset is updatable. We can make changes to the data and send those changes back to the data source. So it is the best choice when we want manipulation of data. While if you talk about data reader, as we know, it is read-only. We can't make changes to the data. It is the best choice when we require no manipulation of data. Moving on to question number 8. What is the difference between web.config and machine.config? Let's talk about machine.config first. The machine.config file is the master configuration file on your system, and it is the default configuration for all the applications that are running on that machine. It is automatically installed when you install Visual Studio.net, and we can have only one machine.config file on a server. Now, talking about web.config, it is an application level configuration file which is automatically created when you create an ASP.NET web application project. It is a file that manages various settings for a website. It stores configuration data in XML format. Generally, a website contains a single web.config file, but we can have many configuration files that manage settings at various levels within an application. Question number 9. What do you understand by side-by-side execution of assembly? Now see, what side-by-side execution does is, it allows assemblies to coexist and execute multiple versions of the same assembly simultaneously on same computer. So this is what you can say to answer this question. Question number 10. What is MVC? Well, this is a question without which a .NET interview would be incomplete. To answer this question, you can say MVC stands for Model, View and Control. MVC is a software architectural pattern which separates the representation and user interaction. Here, model represents the real world object and provides data to the view. Actually, it is nothing but a set of classes that describes business logic. Now, if you talk about view, it is responsible for look and feel. It represents UI components like HTML, CSS, jQuery, etc. And if you see controller, it